I have that?
Yep, let me just make sure.
Okay. Nope. Can't, says disabled for now.
Yep, sorry, give me 1 second.
No problem. All right. So as Lamise does that, I do have a PowerPoint just to kind of help me stay on track. In full disclosure, I have probably planned more than we will be able to get to. That just kind of is the way things go. I always have more rather than less. So we'll see how far we get. I assume you can you see my screen and see my PowerPoint?
Yep.
Okay, great. So let me just fix that. So what I'd like to the first thing I want to say, other than, welcome and it's a pleasure to be here and I hope you enjoy today. Let me go back. Went a little too far. So there's 3 things that I hope you will take away from this 45 minutes, hour that we have together. And I like to make it simple. So I hope the first thing you take away is the idea of yet. I hope the second thing you take away is the idea of yes and the power of yes. And then lastly is maybe. Okay, so very easy, yet, yes, and maybe. And if you're saying, I have no idea what that means, that's great, because we will figure that out as we go. So the title of the presentation, I have it hanging up here, Creativity and Improv for Student Success. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. This is just kind of my perfunctory definition of what is creativity, what is improv. And I chose a definition of creativity that I think is really very specific to what I'm hoping you will get out of today's presentation. So the ability to modify self-imposed constraints. Now, there are a lot of definitions I could have chosen for creativity, but I feel like this one is really the most useful when we think about success. And by the way, it's not just student success, it's all of our success and what we're going to talk about today. Now, I include improv, and this is really good for me because anytime I start seeing your connection is unstable, I start getting really nervous and uptight. And then I have to say, you know what? Right now in particular, this is all about improv, which is making things up as you go, right? And letting go of that need to control and being okay with going with the flow as things unfold. So I'm going to trust that if I get bumped out completely, you all are going to just keep going without me and make it up as you go along. And that gives me comfort, so I won't worry about getting bumped out. So this is, I think, the most important place to start when we talk about creativity and improv and being okay with the unknown or the things that are uncomfortable to us. Now, this graphic is a graphic about kind of our own development, our own human development and learning. And what I want you to just kind of focus on is these 3 different zones that we all experience and we all live in at different times. The middle zone, the nice comfort zone, the green there, is the place where we feel really comfortable in our different activities or skill sets or behaviors, right? This is the no-brainer place for us. We can do things in this zone with very little effort. They don't cause us any stress. That's the nice kind of comfy, wrapped up in a blanket, things are good zone. The zone next to that in the yellow is the learning zone. And that's the zone where we're trying new things, we're learning new skills, we're trying out behaviors, we're doing things that maybe feel a little bit scary to us. They're not quite things that we have done enough or we've practiced. And so that's the zone that we really have to put some time and attention and effort into. The last zone is the panic zone. And think about that zone is the area where we have maybe gone too far, too fast. we've stepped into or maybe been pushed into an area that is just too much for us for where we're at right now. It's overwhelming. It may create a huge amount of anxiety, right? I think about this as like flashing red lights, like want, overload, okay? You can imagine the panic zone is really not the place that we're going to be able to learn very effectively because all of our system is just overwhelmed in that place. So the thing that we want to focus on, and I'm going to give you a minute to kind of think about this from your personal perspective, but if you think about the comfort zone, what we want to do in learning new things and testing out new skills and trying new things is to consciously and deliberately practice moving into the learning zone. Practice things that ultimately, the more we practice, the more deliberative practice we apply, the more we can expand our comfort zone, right? So if you stay in your comfort zone, which I gotta say, particularly right now with the kind of everything going on, it can feel really safe to just stay in that comfort zone. But that doesn't give us the chance to grow into other areas and to learn new things. And so you have to consciously think about, I'm going to push into this yellow zone a little bit, experience discomfort. I'm going to be okay with it because I'm not in the panic zone. And over time, you start to stretch your comfort zone. So as a way to think about this and practice this, I'm going to ask everybody, we're going to take about 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. I'm going to ask you to just get something to write with, get a piece of paper, get your computer, get your phone, but think about an example or two that you could put into your comfort zone, your learning zone, and an experience you've had in the panic zone. So you can think about a time you were learning something, a time you were trying something new, or a skill or an expertise you have that you're really comfortable with. It's kind of a no-brainer for you. And pick something more meaningful than like I brush my teeth, right? Like something that you feel you're good at and you're comfortable with. Pick 1 or 2 things that you would put into your learning zone, like I know I'm stretching, this is not the most comfortable, but I'm able to sit with it and to practice and to be with that slight discomfort. And then try to come up with 1 or 2 examples of when you've been in a panic zone. Okay, so if you can come up with at least 1, ideally 2 for each zone, and once you've done that, I want you to just kind of look at those examples in the different zones and think about how you felt, what the feeling was that you had when you were in each of those zones. Okay, so I would encourage you, if you want, feel free to turn off your camera. If you want to do that while you're writing and thinking, don't turn off your microphone because you won't be able to hear me when I say it's kind of time to come back. But just I'll give you like a 1-minute warning in about 4 minutes. Okay, so just take a couple minutes to do that. I'm going to turn off my camera just to kind of role model and think it through myself. And we'll come back together in about 5 minutes. All right, does anybody have any questions before I turn off my own camera? Okay, I'll see you in 5 minutes. All right, and as you're got about another minute or so, but one thing I'd like you to do is look at your panic zone examples and see if you can come up with an example of a time that you were in the panic zone, but you were able to pull yourself out of it. And just think about, if you can come up with an example, what helped you do that? So you can use one of the examples you've come up for that, and then we'll come back together in a minute. All right, so go ahead and finish the thought that you're on. Let me see if I can get back so I can see you all. All right, great. All right, so before we finish up this activity, I want to put my camera back on. Come on, back on. There I am. All right. So is anybody willing to just kind of talk about the difference they could feel and experience between those zones? I guess first I'll ask, was anybody not successful in being able to find an example for each of the zones? So everybody could find a comfort, a learning, and a panic. Great. How was it different in thinking about those three different zones for you? What was the feeling? And sometimes it's actually kind of a physical reaction we can have to the difference of those zones. Is anybody willing to share what they experienced in identifying those three?
I can share a little bit.
Please, Thomas.
Yep. So, comfort zone for me was pretty much what someone would call second nature. Like you would have to do it. You could do it. It's almost in your subconscious, right? So my activity was driving stick shift. I've been doing it so long, right, that it's just second nature. I don't even think about it anymore. My learning zone was painting for me because I am like a staunch perfectionist. So I really like cringe and try to make it. I'm not like an artsy person by raw talent at all, but like I sort of look at different things that are achievable in my learning zone. Like I like to paint different rocks, and I'm more of like a 2D. I like to paint maps rather than like 3D pictures. And then like panic zone for me was calculus. Like I remember I was like a sort of in a higher level of math during high school in my senior year. There was only like honors calculus, not like a, just a baseline calculus course. And I was really in the panic zone, like doing my homework and trying to do it and knowing that I'm doing it, but it's probably wrong and I'm going to fail anyway. Like, why am I doing this? There's like no point. It's just an uphill battle. And so from when I was in the panic zone, I was thinking like, how do I get out of this course immediately and switch to something else, which I ended up doing statistics instead, because that was more of like my my MO and back into my learning zone. It wasn't my comfort zone, but it was back into my learning zone.
Right. So you pulled yourself out of a panic zone where you probably weren't going to really learn into a zone where you could still stretch, but felt a sense of, I can still master this.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, great. Anybody else want to share their experience, their feelings?
Kim,
Mhm.
I can share.
Great.
As a freshman, a new person,
Mhm.
living in the dorms, I had everything I needed. The maintainers took good care of me, so I had everything I needed in that dorm. The learning is when I would walk around campus and meet people, and so you don't know how you're going to be taken. And I'm unusual in the sense I don't wear a suit every day. I wear a lot of Hawaiian shirts, and people generally don't know who I am. And then the panic, yeah, I wouldn't exactly call it panic in a way, but when I learned that we're $7.5 million in the hole, uh, that kind of surprised me, maybe panicked, kind of got me angry because I didn't anticipate that much. And I was kind of left out of the loop on that when I came. But got out of that when I started talking to faculty and staff and started developing a plan to reduce that. That created the UAC group. And so that brought me back into the learning.
Great. So also an example like Thomas of being able to pull in a little bit out of the panic zone to a zone that you know you can be effective in.
Correct.
Good. So the last thing I'd like to ask everybody to do is to identify one of the statements or activities, behaviors you wrote down that is either a stretch for you learning or in your panic zone. And just write a sentence that ends with yet. Like, I'll give you my example, my panic zone. I'm trying to learn to sing, and I've been kind of told my whole life that I can't sing. I won't explain why I'm trying to do this, but I had a terrible lesson the other day. It was awful. I was terrible, and I beat it for days. And then I beat myself up for days. If I was going to do this, I would write, I am not a good singer yet. So find a statement about a behavior, an activity, and just add the word yet to the end of that statement. Okay, so take 30 seconds and find the one you want to choose and just put yet. And the reason why I want you to hold on, and this was the first word, was the yet, is it goes back to a concept called the growth mindset. And we know from research that people can have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And a fixed mindset is that you kind of believe that success is due to kind of natural abilities and that you get what you get. And if you don't have a certain skill set or a certain talent, that's it. The growth mindset is the belief that you can always develop talent. You can always build your skills, right? That success comes from working at it, not from innately having a particular skill or ability. And so I would just offer the next time you feel that maybe you're at the edges of your learning zone or going into your panic zone, just add the word yet. I can't do this yet, which will help you realize you'll get there. If you keep at it, you'll get there. You're just not there yet. Okay, so that's the first concept that I'd really like you to try to hang on to, is this idea of yet. All right, I'd like to move into an opportunity to practice our creative thinking. So I don't know if any of you are fans of the New Yorker cartoon caption contest. Okay, Corrine, yes. So if you've never done it before, the idea is, and it's great fun. I did this with my honors class last year as kind of a weekly thing. And I think in the end, this was one of our favorite parts of the class. So you can see the cartoon on the screen, yes? So what I'd like you to do is I'm going to time you on this one. The idea is you write a caption for that cartoon. Now, some of you may be saying or thinking, I'm not creative, I've never done this kind of thing before. I'm not going to ask you to share, and nothing you write is wrong. Everything is perfectly right. It is a great caption that you're going to write. I'm telling you, it's a great caption you're going to write. So take a minute, look at this cartoon. Horses, cowboys, coffee maker. And I'm going to give you a minute to write down as many captions as you can. And I challenge you to just write some captions. Don't critique yourself. Go ahead, my timer has started. All right, and stop. How'd you do? Did you get 1, 2, 3, 4? I got 3. 2. All right. So however many you got, I'm going to give you another minute, and I want you to double it. Now, to do that, you can't critique, you can't judge, just let your brain go and double the number in the next minute. That's your challenge. Try to do that. Ready? Go. All right, stop. How'd that one go? Did you get more? I see a few heads shaking. Okay. For the last minute, see if you can come up with any more. See if you got anything else in the brain. Go back to maybe one of the earlier ones that you did. See if you can build off of that. Try to get a few more out in the last minute we have. All right, go. All right, stop. Were you able to generate a few more in that last minute? All right.
Yes.
Does anybody think they came up with an awesome caption that they want to share? I told you wouldn't have to, so nobody has to, but does anybody come up with something really good they want to share? If you did, just unmute because I can't see you all. You're not going to make me tell you mine. Go ahead, Thomas. I can see you're unmuting.
Mine was Overcooked Cowboys because you got like the pots and pans, but also they're in the desert because I'm going to assume by the cactus. And you also have the campfire. So there's a lot of different things going on, like cooked by the sun, cooked by, fire. So I had a couple other. I think that was my best one, though.
And Thomas, where was that in? Did that come the first minute, the second minute, or the third minute?
That was the second minute. The first minute, I was kind of just thinking about phrases that I've heard in popular culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second and the third minute were kind of things that I made up myself. But the second minute was definitely where I got the most inspiration out of, I would feel like.
And so it sounds like you were using a technique called analogy, where you were thinking of things that you could use to kind of like as comparison or to help kind of build off of an analogy for what you were seeing in the picture.
Right.
Right.
I think I was trying to make it my phrases the most clever, but like in that second minute, I wasn't thinking about critiquing them like you said. I was just trying to like move on to one, move on to the next, and I think that really made it more genuine, all the phrases.
Great, because you weren't stopping to think too much about it.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody else have an experience they want to share, either a caption or how it felt between the different minutes?
I will. Actually, it's funny. I had gone to Dartmouth for my graduate school, and there was a little coffee shop called the Dirt Cowboy. And so in the third minute, I started to kind of like really scrape this picture, and I was like, oh, this would be really funny for that cafe, the Dirt Cowboy, literally Dirt Cowboy.
Mm-hmm. Great. So that was the third minute for you. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, my caption is, where in the H are they?
And where did that come in your 3 minutes?
First.
Burst. Okay, great. So your burst of inspiration came right out in the beginning. Mine was, I can't get along without a little coffee. Get along. So the point of doing this 3 times is there's a concept called the extended effort principle. And the more you can, particularly if you're dealing with a tricky or a novel situation or problem, challenge, that we know that if you can push yourself to keep trying, often you kind of break the lock you may have on your brain, right? So by continuing saying, I'm going to do a certain number, and then I'm going to do more, and then I'm going to do more, it actually can allow you to get into a zone sometimes that you would not have been in if you had stopped in the beginning, right? It kind of forces you, particularly if you're really being forced by yourself or by somebody as part of an activity to do more than you think you can. That can help you to expand your frame of reference and thinking on trying to come up with a solution, right? And so Thomas had a perfect example of, I was kind of working within a particular model of how to do this, and then when I had to do more, I kind of let go of that and just started thinking in a different way. So I would encourage you, one, not to critique, because critiquing in these types of situations is going to be a huge speed bump, right? If you had stopped and critiqued every caption and been like, that stinks, that's terrible, what does that mean? What does that have to do with anything, right? That really can shut down your ability to think more creatively and innovatively. So next time you're struggling with something, think about, okay, you can literally set a timer. I'm going to sit for a minute and see what I can come up with. All right. Then I'm going to sit for another minute. Let me start again and see if that can help you kind of push through sometimes some of the kind of closed, the narrowing of thinking. It's a way to kind of expand your thinking back out. So I'm going to give you a chance to do this in breakout groups. The idea of this, and again, this goes back to the willingness to be open to possibilities. And this goes to the yes concept. So I'm going to ask you to do some really bad ideas brainstorming. Really bad ideas brainstorming is you come up with ideas that are impossible, unrealistic, pie in the sky. Like that would never happen. We could never do that. And I figured we would do something. I didn't know our president would be on. I figured we'd do something relevant to real life at Westfield. And you know that, I think you probably all know, or if you don't know, we got a grant to totally renovate Parenzo, the building. And there's been a lot of back and forth of, what should we do? What should the building become? How should it be used? So I'm going to give you a chance to brainstorm some really bad ideas of what we should do with Parenzo. Let me give you an example. I think we should gut the inside and turn it into a ninja warrior training course so that we can all train and somebody can go on to the finals and win $1 million for the campus. Yeah? And once you're in your group, you're going to practice saying, yes, and maybe we could, and you're going to build on it. So the whole idea of our brainstorming is we're going to come up with crazy, bad ideas, and we're going to agree with each other and build on it. Okay, so as I'm putting you into breakout rooms, I'll just probably break you up into 2 or 3 rooms. Be thinking about your first bad idea and come up with bad ideas, right? Bad things that would never work. I think I'm actually going to do a little bit smaller groups. Let's do 3 groups. Let me figure out where I can do that. And so once you get in the rooms, I'll give you a minute warning, but you're going to have about 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes to share with each other really bad ideas and see where you can take it. Where's my breakout rooms? Where did the breakout rooms go?
Yeah, I can do it for you.
Okay, that'd be great, Lamise. Just 3 random groups would be great.
Got it. Hi, Tom.
involved in movement science.
Oh, yeah. We could have like a Zen garden, so that way we could have the landscaping people. I know we have some major that does that stuff, and they could collaborate with the people who do the mindfulness, and we could have our counseling center to create a whole Zen experience with hands-on learning. Maria, were you going to add something? Did I cut you off? I can't hear Maria.
I think she's muted. I'm going to go check the other rooms if you want me to.
Yes, and Lamise, can you give us a 1-minute warning at about 11:51 and then bring us back after that?
You got it.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is a whole new way to do experiential, like project-based learning.
So far, we've got the concert hall, performance arts building, gym activities, games, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Boy, if we could wipe out the whole building inside.
It's rough. Hey, Lamise.
How's it going?
So we got some crazy ideas.
That's awesome. I'm going to give everybody the 1-minute warning, so keep it coming unless you're done.
I think we got an epic construction project planned.
Can't wait to hear about it. And hopefully we have the budget for it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice to do that for your own home? Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
All right, I'll see you guys in a little bit then.
You got it.
Hello, welcome back. I think everybody's coming back in. Can't wait to hear all the crazy ideas.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So how did that go? How was your bad ideas brainstorming?
Well, Kim, since you were in our group, I thought it was very, very fascinating. And Tom, it was just a lot of fun and just very creative and yeah, linking all kinds of ideas together in unusual ways. So, yeah.
Yep, I think we came up with an awesome plan for Parenzo.
Definitely. You
Yeah,
present it to the board.
Yeah, Corrine, how about you? You were going to say something.
Yeah, I just thought we were actually quite rational and weren't maybe quite as crazy as we might have been. So that was interesting.
How'd you end up rational given that you were supposed to come up with really bad ideas?
I don't know. Our numbers person said, I'm a numbers person, so can't come up with a really bad idea. She came up with a good idea, but it's a little more, right, Katrina?
I was just thinking from what already is available in the Parenzo, like the stage with everything around it and the gym and everything around it. Basically, I didn't try to think out of box. I mean, I offer a planetarium.
Okay, so you're trained to think very rationally. Okay. How about some of the other groups? Where'd you end up? Did you end up on, I'd say our group ended up on a little esoteric crazy side. but with some grains of possibility, real possibility. Yeah?
Yep.
Tony, were you unmuting to share where your group ended up?
Yeah, we kind of went off the rails a little bit and decided to pick every industry that is struggling right now. So we wanted to add an aquarium, some brick and mortar stores, maybe a hotel, and pretty much make some noise in the middle of Westfield and see if we could add kind of this, component of interacting with the community and driving revenue into it.
Great.
Not sure.
Right.
Not sure if it would work right now.
Totally crazy or a grain of possibility, would you say?
Crazy unless you kind of opened one little retail store, like a little coffee shop or something. But
So I heard you saying you kind of were almost creating a main street for community businesses on campus.
exactly.
That doesn't sound completely crazy. That doesn't sound like a terrible idea.
When you put it like that, yeah.
So how did it feel to be able to just go off the rails in your thinking? Anyone?
Wonderful.
Freeing?
Mm-hmm.
Creative? Opening possibilities? So you can think about, they may have been a little crazy. I mean, we had a Zen garden, we had a shooting range, we had a bowling alley, but it all came together, right? Thinking outside the box and allowing yourself to yes and. This is the concept, and this is the concept in improv. Yes and, where you do radical agreement. There's time later to censor and to critique, and time when you have to be practical. But if you're trying to be creative, it's much better to start with no limits and then pull back, right? So the concept of yes and is radically agreeing with your partners to see where you can take it. And that's where I think improv really helps with the creative thinking and being an innovative problem solver. Okay. Anybody else want to share anything else about that activity before we get to the last thing I want to say as we wrap it up? All right, so the last thing, let me see if I can still get my slide to move. Okay, let me find you all again. I hate when you all disappear. Oops. I hate when I can't see anybody when I'm doing this. Well, I can't see you. I'll come back to you. So the last word I asked you to think about taking away with you is maybe. And can you all still see this? Can you see what I would say a beautifully terraced landscape here?
No, can you share the screen again?
Oh, that's right. We stopped sharing. Hold on. Let me see if I can, because this picture to me is beautiful. Hold on. Share screen. Okay. Can you see it now? Okay. So let me go big because I really do like this picture. So the last word was maybe, and I just want to share with you an allegory that I think demonstrates the power and the value of the word maybe, particularly right now. I think this is a really useful word for us as you try to navigate through what can be challenging times. So the story goes this way, okay? It's a story of an old farmer who had worked his crop for many years. One day his horse ran away. Upon hearing the news, his neighbors came to visit. Such bad luck, they said sympathetically, such bad luck. Maybe, said the farmer. The next morning the horse returned, bringing with it 3 other wild horses. How wonderful, the neighbors exclaimed. That's wonderful. Maybe, said the farmer. The following day, his son tried to run one of the untamed horses, was thrown off, and broke his leg. The neighbors came running by again to offer their sympathy for what they called his misfortune. Oh, that's so terrible, they said. And the farmer said, maybe. The day after that, military officials came to the village to draft young men into the army. Seeing that his son's leg was broken, they passed him by. The neighbors congratulated the farmer on how well things had turned out. And the farmer said, maybe. And so the point of that is just to use the reframe to realize that you never really know, right? Maybe things are going to go well. Maybe things are not going to go so well. But until it's all said and done, you don't really know. And so when you're in the middle of a situation and you can think to yourself, maybe this is bad, maybe this isn't bad, maybe this gives me an opportunity I don't even realize right now. That can help all of us to be a little bit more resilient during what can, right now in particular, be challenging times. So maybe. And with that, it is exactly 12 o'clock. I am all set. So if anybody has any questions or comments, I'm happy to entertain them, but I thank you all for being here. And I hope that yet, yes, and maybe are helpful to you in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kim. This is awesome. And what I found when I experienced this last time is that it stuck with me. And as the days went on, I felt, you know, again, drawn back to this exercise. So I'm hoping that this will provide, you know, some kind of coping skills, you know, just cognitive reappraisal skills for all of us. So thank you so much. And I really appreciate everybody coming. It's always wonderful. It's always a diverse group of students and faculty and staff. And so I'm very appreciative of it. Our next Lunch and Learn is October 20th, and Dr. Robert Chat is going to be running a workshop helping us to see how we can use Excel to organize our work and our life. So I'm hoping that you will come back 11 to 12, and we can have more of these informal conversations. And as always, please email me if you're interested in applied experiences, how you can get started, whatever questions that you might have about the Center for Undergraduate Research and Creative Activity. And thank you, Dr. Siaga, for coming today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I've learned a lot.
All right.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.